What's up? It's not Pookie. I'm here to talk about NCAA 14 College Football Revamped, CFBR, or NCAA 14 Revamped, primarily for PC. If you have the game, then I just mainly wanted to try and see if I can help other people who are trying to create a team themselves. If you have anything like me, then you had your own problems trying to make a team because I constantly get errors pop up, and then whenever I try to play in the game, it just did not communicate where my RPC S3 would basically show like pink/purple color writing, talk about unmapped location, basically saying your game is crashed because it could not find the information that it should have in the right place. I don't know how to explain it for PlayStation or Xbox because I don't use those. But yeah, it's mainly for the editing purposes, and if you do have those and you pretty much have to bring everything back to the computer, my main thing is going to be primarily using one of the applications to where I follow different tutorials and user inputs from YouTube, which they're extremely helpful, from Trigger to 2K5 Master to Goon Master. They did a really great job explaining how they did everything, showing you step-by-step examples. I'm not here to do that per se, other than like the one inconsistency I had that made my games crash, and it took me about 3 months of trial and errors before I finally was able to realize what the problems were and how to go ahead and fix them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. First and foremost, if you are not already included, join the Discord for College Football Revamped. That's nothing of my own. As you see, they have their own bots, moderators, support staff, so on and so forth. I am none of them. I'm literally just a dude who joined because I love playing NCAA. I've played Madden here and there, especially after I got a computer. I went ahead and got some things. But then I found out they had this revamped where they took NCAA 14, the last college football game ever made, and they've been revamping it to give it new players with rosters, new applications, as well as just the fun of NCAA again. Because if you go online and try and buy a game, like which you should, it's anywhere from $60 to like $180 for a game copy, and half the time you can't even verify you're getting the right thing. But if you do by chance are able to find the game, College Football Revamped is really great at helping you out. If you didn't find the game or you accidentally got a bootleg one, by all means do you. I can't support or condone that. I'm just saying this is the Discord to help you with any and all things that you could want to go ahead and revamp with those games, whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, or PC. By the way, this is not the new editions of those consoles. They do have to be on PlayStation 3 or the not Xbox One but Xbox 360. So only 3 series. Some of the tools you're going to need or preferably use, starting off with NCAA 14 Dynasty tool. It's going to be right up here. My bad, I'm backwards. So that one is not a necessity, but it is helpful and cool because you're playing the revamp game. You're getting some of the newer players in there from like last year's draft class to the upcoming season players coming in. So it's really cool to import those rosters and so on. I'm sure everybody would like to be able to play their playoff system. If you don't want to, just play NCAA 14 the way it is. You don't even need that tool. But if you would like to do playoffs, then they have a 4-team and an 8-team playoff expansions to where you just follow those step by step, and basically you can go into the season and go ahead and play just like if you see any of these other YouTubers who play NCAA 14 revamped, they'll go ahead and play like the playoffs, so on and so forth. That's the main thing. It's pretty self-explanatory. They tell you step by step what to do. If they don't, you just ask somebody in the Discord, they'll help you out. The next one is going to be AST editor tool. This one, I am backwards again. This one is basically how you customize jerseys, pants, helmets, socks if they're applicable for the bigger schools, your stadium, your cheerleading uniforms, even up to your mascot you can change. I'm not good with all the extra stuff, so like I was able to do the stadium and my cheerleaders. I picked a small school to create a team just so I didn't have to try with the mascot. I've tried it. It was not working out for me. I'm not smart enough for that. So feel free to mess with it as you will. Again, you got to follow the YouTube guides. I'm going to go ahead and highlight those after I mention the third tool that you will be needing to use if you want to make your own team. It's going to be the EADB editor. That's the main one I'm going to be talking about today in the video, because almost all of my issues from my game freezing and crashing and unmapped locations is because I messed up something in the EADB editor. Because with NCAA AST editor, you can customize your uniforms, your team, so on and so forth. All of that seems to work fine, and when you mess with that, that will reflect when you go to play now mode, or if you make your own dynasty, like those uniforms and stuff will carry over. The EADB editor is how you mess with the physical data. So that's your team name, your team colors, your fan colors, because they match your team colors, whether it's primary or secondary, which is your home and away colors, and so on and so forth. It also messes with the other minor details. So you don't want to change, I don't know, Ohio State and make them Ohio Gate. I don't know, I'm just making up something. But your uniform will look one way and this and that, but then every time the announcers talk about it or your team shows up on the screen, it's going to say Ohio State, and it's not going to match up, and it's going to be weird looking. So that's one of the things I wanted to go ahead and highlight. Without further ado, let me go ahead and show you the user guides that I personally use. Go ahead and highlight all these other big YouTubers, because they definitely deserve the credit for the greatness that they put out there. Okay, so as you can see, I have some things up here. It's going to be basically how to create a team in CFB Revamped, NCAA 14. Trigger, he was the main one I used to customize my team. He goes all throughout the tool editor where you customize your uniform. So it goes from your uniform colors, your helmet, down to all these other nitty-gritty details, and he's just so helpful. He actually has a couple different videos out on it. So this is one for WSU, in which case he's very detail oriented, and he does it step by step, and he even shows you examples that he doesn't have to, just in case you're curious to see how it looks. So he was extremely helpful. Another one which gives a different perspective but similar details to customize your uniforms and jerseys is 2K5 Master. He was helpful. After I watched a couple of Trigger videos, he gave a different perspective on how to do it. So it helps fill in the gaps of any questions you may have, because you're cross-referencing different people's ideas. Goon Master is another one. He's really good, especially with the EADB editor, which he highlights right there, how to build a stadium. He went ahead and talked about the different types of stadiums you can use, changing team colors to when you change the team colors, it also changes the fan colors, and he shows you a step-by-step guide and how they look. I just wanted to expand on his videos, so feel free to watch his before you go ahead and watch mine. Mine is only if you get the same error that I'm getting, to where the information doesn't add up, in which case that's why I'm here, because he doesn't highlight the errors. Everything seems to work perfectly for all these other guys, and maybe I messed up a step up to that point of trying to do stuff. However, I was able to resolve it by following a couple simple issues, so hopefully they're helpful to you. A couple other things are the play editors, which Tubi Light, I don't know, and Goon Master also highlight. That's a little bit more convoluted. I'm not getting into that, but yeah, that's a play editor and so on and so forth. That's beyond me. As you can see, this is some of the little videos where they basically talk about it, so I'll play it in the background. But basically, he's showing you step by step with Trigger how to go in for your team jerseys and change the colors and so on and so forth. Or if you want to change certain fonts or details, you can. Another look, again, he's using the editor. You can see different jersey options. Your stadium will come up, so on and so forth. And then how to build a stadium, that was Goon Master. He goes in basically explaining everything, and he actually breaks it down. So intro, the DB editor, basically explains how you're going to use it. Whether you use the old school Dynasty tool, which you have to find online, the older version, because if you download the newer one, they don't give that option. But they do have the EADB editor as a separate download file, which I just recommend, because if you can make this work, everything works fine. The old school Dynasty tool, I feel like there's a reason they took it out. So just follow his steps, and he basically shows you. And then yeah, he goes into like actually showing you game footage of how it's supposed to look. Okay, so if you're confused by all this random numbers and data and stuff on here, as I would be looking at it for the first time, this is basically what's everything for your actual Dynasty file in the EADB editor. I'm about to show you a step-by-step how to get here, but as you see, like it has team name and different players on the different teams. So let me go ahead and show you step-by-step how to get here in case you haven't, like you forgot, but Goonmaster does show you. I'll just show you an example. Okay, so this is your generic EADB reader. It's the DB editor, as you saw right here. There's the file I'm using. And basically you're going to go into File. You need to load configuration. That's basically the format that you see right here to be able to read everything. You can click Open. It's going to tell you need to load a configuration. See? Click OK, in which case it's going to load your configuration first, and then it'll ask you to open a file. Doesn't matter which way you do it. You're going to need Zan's NCAA 14 Dynasty config. I will try to give you those links. Basically, everything's in the Discord. You can find everything you need there. But there, this is, as well as if you follow Trigger and Goonmaster, they have those links as well. So you're going to load that up. It's going to take a minute to load, as Goonmaster said himself. Once it does load, it's going to show you the basic generic. It should make that loading screen. Okay, so mine loaded. So if you do load config, that's how it looks. If you hit open and you open the config, it's going to open another file saying open the files. Okay, so just showing you that's how it looks if you do load config. It basically matches C, player data, player stats, player ID, so on and so forth. So once I'm in here, you go into your files where you find your user data from the game. Okay, so once you're in here, you want to go ahead and mess with it. You should be able to find your files, but if you go into the RPCS3 for your PC users, PlayStation, Xbox, I'm sorry to tell you, I don't know how to get there, but you basically scroll down just like Goonmaster says, div_HDD0. Want to double click, go to home, bunch of zeros and a 1, save data, and then here's all your stuff for NCAA. In which case you have different files here and there. As you see, I messed with it, but you want to look for your dynasty. Whatever dynasty you created, you want to create a dynasty before anything else gets started on your NCAA. Once you save it, go ahead and try to save in like the preseason loading screen or whatever. Once you mess with like your team and stuff, you want to make your custom, schedule and so on and so forth. But instead of going to week 1, just save right there, like it's easier on your end. And yeah, so there's all this stuff. I made a couple different tries, and I tell you, like, it was very frustrating over the last like 3 to 5 months trying to figure everything out. But once you click on them, you're going to see there's no data, right? That's because you have to open these in separate files. Okay, once you open it in a separate file, this is what it looks like in your folders. You're going to have head, icon, param, and user data. That's the one you want. I always recommend backing up everything you do. Don't care where you put the file, you just want to do it. So in here, I would take this, copy it, Control C, or just right click, copy. And then you want to open up a new file somewhere, anywhere else. So if I go on here, I'll just make a new file right here, new folder, NCAA edit file. Good luck reading that one if you didn't know. Okay, so I opened it. Boom. Go ahead and paste or just copy V. Okay, your file has now been copied, right? Everything's in here. Cool, we're good to go. What you want to do is take that file, Control, paste. Or just right click, copy, right click, paste. Now I made a copy. Rename it. Period. MC0, the number 0, 2. And then save. That's how you're going to find it, okay? So, now that that's done, we're going to go in here. Normally, you would go ahead and find it, so I'm going to scroll up. Desktop. NCAA edit file. There it is. You see I can find the original user by doing the drop down. The drop down will give you errors. Don't do it. It doesn't work out. You have a lot more work to do. MC02, there's your file. It's going to take a minute to load. That's good. If it's loading like that, you're good to go. Everything's grand. If it doesn't and you get a pop-up of user, I don't know if the game is salvageable at that point, but you're in for a lot of work, to say the least. But this is how it should work once it loads, eventually. I'll get back to you when it does load. Okay, this time the third. We have finally loaded. Don't know why it looks like that, but yeah. Anyways, so as you see, we have different players here and there, blah, blah, blah. So, what we want to do is, first of all, on this, try not to save over that. That is your go back reset save file. Save that somewhere. If you're afraid you're going to accidentally save over this, copy it, make another file somewhere else. Save it somewhere else. Do not lose it, because if you need to reset, that's your start from ground zero. So, as you see here, everything for ID should always have a number in parentheses followed by the name. Player ID 70, Vince Sanford is the player number 70 in this file. Team ID 1, Air Force. The first team is identified as Air Force. Okay? Second team is Akron. Okay? That's how it's broken down. Player info. As you see, player ID. Number 70 is Vince Sanford. His first name is Vince. That's where they get it from. Last name Sanford. That's where he gets it from. Team ID. He still belongs to Air Force. There's his jersey number. And then they go on and on and on with all the other details. Player unknowns. Same thing. That's very important, because that's what Goonmaster, as great as he does with his videos, he doesn't really explain, and that's where I had all of my issues, is in here. So, once you go back to there, you say you want to create a team. We're going to go ahead and jump into it. You want to jump in here. This is where you do all your editing. Okay? If you double click, that's how you change your information. They have drop down arrows. Here's all the teams available. If you would like to create a team, you have to change one of the existing teams to make it what you want. Okay? In which case, if you watch Trigger and Goonmaster, they explain those in very good detail. So, what I did was I took Mid-Tennessee State University and I made them Friendship University to match that of a TV show, My Little Pony, for my two daughters, who greatly appreciated my efforts, even though it took me forever. So if I scroll down, number 53 is normally Mid-Tennessee State University. I will verify this by actually loading up the original copy. Okay, here we go. Load config. Stop. Don't mind me and my disorganization. That's just how I've set up everything. Waiting on a screen to load. Boom. See? Nothing else popped up because I loaded config this time. Open. Now I need to find that NCAA edit file. OG copy. This is where I pasted it, okay? Boom. Just so I can see all. Okay, you got an error. That's because I tried to open it wrong. Just quit. Open it up again. Dynasty. Another place I saved it was under templates. Zan's also made a roster config. I don't know when you really use this. Nobody really made a video for it. It has the basis of the Dynasty. Dynasty just more in depth, so. Once that loads, I'm going to open it up properly this time instead of clicking the all button. Doing the drop down to all gives you that error. You don't want those errors. That means your game's about to glitch and something will freeze or crash at some point in time. So, go back to desktop. Want the OG. Boom. It's an MC02 file. Should open up normally. I got the error, so that won't work. Might as well explain it to you. When you get this error, things will be able to load, but they won't look right, which means your game's probably going to crash. So if you want it to look right, you need to avoid those errors, or you're going to do a lot of extra work. I want you to notice something right here. Player ID. it doesn't have the number and names. That means you're already glitched. You also had to hit refresh view in order to see this stuff. Because if you click, there's nothing there. But when you hit refresh view, something pops up. So this is what your game was able to put for this system. But again, I am in the team data and see how these teams are actually numbered. So if you save a file like this, you will be able to load up your franchise, dynasty or whatever, and be able to load in. However, whenever you go to play the games, you will always crash. You'll be lucky if it doesn't crash, because they won't be able to find your team to be able to play a home or away game, because all these teams are no longer associated. Same thing with team rival IDs. None of those are associated. That you can play with. Like that, it doesn't, from my experience, it doesn't really play as much of a role, but preferably you want it looking like it should over here, where everything has a number and a name. So unless you're willing to do all of that extra work to fix it, try to avoid these problems. Okay, now that I actually found my normal file, load config, Cool. Open. Want to go back to my edit file, OG, there it is. Okay, it's going to load. Remember, it takes a minute, that's fine. We're in no rush, as long as it's done right. I am going to pull these things back up though. Probably going to edit this out. We'll be right back. Oh, there we go. Okay, so notice how when it loads properly and you don't get the error, you have everything with the names. That's how it should look. Team IDs. So whenever you do edit with these, the most important thing is always making sure everything is consistent. If it's not consistent, when the game tries to load and pull data, it's not going to communicate well. That's how it crashes and leads to unmapped locations, so on and so forth. So we're going to scroll down so I can show you what team I mess with. 53, Middle Tennessee State University is number 53. On my created one, Friendship View is the one that took place. So if you look at these, that's what the differences are going to be. So you follow Goonmaster, and whenever he tells you to edit everything, everything should work. However, he doesn't go through every single detail that I needed for my game to work on my PC. If it works for you, great. A lot of people in his comments, everything works the way it should. If you're like me and it doesn't work, this is what I'm trying to help somebody else so they don't have to go through the excruciating agony like I did, where I wanted to play games but they kept crashing. So if everything loads good, you can change your team. In which case, the first thing I did was I went in here, team ID. You have to double click in order to change your info, okay? So here's your drop down. You can make them other teams. I wouldn't recommend picking another team down here. Just go find those teams, because if I go ahead and do this drop down and say I want to make a Minnesota, I have 2 Minnesotas. That's probably going to be a glitch. This is only to make a new team. You have to get rid of a team already existing, okay? I don't think you can play as an FCS team, but that would be a really good experiment for me to mess with. So I'm going to go in here, and I want it to match that. So I go in and basically put Friendship U. Enter. Okay? I'm going to copy this. You can either enter or just click away. Now, your team name and team long name have to match. The same thing, okay? They have to match. If they don't match, which you see that everything else down here matches, you're probably going to have an error because it's not going to pull data. Mascot name, I changed it to Ponies. Oops, if I could spell ponies. With the right caps. Boom. Boom. My acronym, FU, Friendship U. Okay? I'm not trying to be a dick. That's just the way it is. Team rival. You don't have to change it, but I did because, one, Western Kentucky is not a big school, and I want to play against big schools for credibility purposes, as well as just fun to game. There's nothing wrong with changing team rivals. So I changed this one to Tennessee because my team is in Tennessee. You can change it to whatever team you want. They don't have to be in the same state. You can do whatever else you want. But I changed it to Tennessee, so that's clearly how I did it, okay? League. You don't want to change league because you want to be in the FBS. I'm assuming if I change one of those FCS schools to FBS, maybe it would be different. I'll come back to that on a future day. If it works, I'll let you know. Conference ID. You can change your conference right here. Whatever conference you want to be in. Oh, I could be in high school if I wanted. That's interesting. I never messed with this, actually. Same thing for the division of each conference, so on and so forth. The rest of this shouldn't matter so much because you're basically in preseason or whatever time you are. Okay? Here's your ratings. You could change that. It may make you look better than what you are, but honestly, your team is what it is unless you change the players. So, if you want to make a new team from scratch like I did, that's where you go into here, and that's where you change it. So, as you see on here, wins, losses, ties, I had everything at 0. My team has never played because my team is a brand new team. We never existed before now, okay? Anyways, so this is all your prestige stuff. If you want to change it, it's up to you. You have import, and then boom, you keep scrolling over. That's where you find all the wins. They used to have 595 wins, 450 losses. That's a terrible program. 28 ties, 7 wins for seasons, and 6 losing seasons. That tells you pretty much all you have to know, and so on and so forth. I basically wiped the slate clean. We're 0 for everything. Then you get to team culture, stadium ID. Again, you just follow Goonmaster and stuff. You can change these if you want. I changed mine to Equestria. Team culture pool is now Equestria. Stadium ID. This is important that you'll have to keep remembering whenever you come back to, okay? I changed mine to Canterlot Stadium. This one says it is Johnny Red Floyd Stadium. Stadium ID. If you change it in here, you have to change it everywhere Stadium ID would pop up, okay? Same thing for College Stadium and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go into the rest of it because Goonmaster, Trigga, and all those other guys do a really good job of explaining it. But yeah, just follow them. I'm just reminding you of the Stadium ID. So I changed Canterlot Stadium in here, so I have to do it in there too, okay? That's going to be important because now when I go everywhere else, and you may want to break it down into steps, you have to change it everywhere else you see. So I changed my team ID. That's the first thing I'm going to focus on. I got to go to player data. There's a team ID here, okay? Boom. So now I have to scroll down until I find 53. Look at all these mid-10 state. They got to be changed to Friendship U. So I'm just going to go in there. Friendship U. I'm going to copy it. And now I'm just going to go in and paste all of them, okay? I have to do that for everyone so there's no inconsistencies. Player info. There's your player ID, so on and so forth. Team ID, change it again. Player unknowns, team ID, change it again. Injuries, there's none because I haven't started my program. We're good. All of the players been done. Team data. I got to change it everywhere I see a team ID. I change it. That's mainly right here. It doesn't repeat anywhere, so I should be good. Team captain. Nothing's filled out because we haven't started the season. This is why I said I prefer you to do this in the preseason before you ever sim to the week 1. None of this is established. However, depth chart is, so again, you have to do the team ID, go find it, change it. Depth chart, nothing. Formation sub, nothing. Uniform, nothing. Recruiting data. This is player specifics. You don't have to change anything. Recruit info. Again, player specific. You can scroll down. Nothing. We're good. Recruit unknowns. Nothing. You're good. The pitches. Team interest. So for this, organize it by clicking the top. Scroll down. Find your team. If your team has any recruits. I clearly don't have very many for Mid-Tennessee State. double click, change it. You got to do that for every single one. And unfortunately, you have 10 team interest. So you got to do it for all 10 of those categories, okay? Recruiting points, team ID, change them. Recruiting visits, nothing. Pitches, you have team ID, change it. You got to be uniform. Coach data, you have team IDs. Go find your coach. Change your team ID. Boom. Okay, there's all 3 of these. Change them. That's assuming I was coaching these teams. If I scroll over and you're not really sure what team you put, my user control team is down here. Whoops. So I am the offense coordinator as Mitch Stewart. Clearly I was messing with it. I just wanted to see if it worked. There's user control. It's going to be the only one with a 1. I would not recommend messing with other teams to make it a 1 because I don't know if NCAA is going to let you have 2 teams. But you're going to be the only team with that. If you wanted to change the coach, say you picked the existing coach, because like I did, just to be able to test it, really just go in here and change it. There's no limits. Billy Bob. But coach ID comes from coach's first name and last name. You got to make it match, okay? Don't make inconsistencies anywhere. Coach record. Now I got to go find my team ID. Mid-Tennessee State. Okay, so I changed the offense coordinator once already. I got to change him again. Because I want him to be Billy Bob. I also got to change these to make it Friendship U. You see where I'm getting at? And then it's always recommended you go down here to make sure nothing else matches, which I actually oversaw it. So when I come down here, I forgot you have alma maters. So if you want, you can change those, but what's it called? Just always scroll down to make sure nothing else repeats itself, okay? In which case, I want to say it was in team data. Team rival ID, yeah. So just do due diligence, double check everything. Now I'm paranoid. I didn't do that, trying to make a nice video. Here I am potentially about to mess up. Okay, cool. Maybe it's just me. Anyways, so recruit data, you go through all those, make sure they're good. Coach data, you want to go through here. Coach record. Boom. Coach info. Yeah, your team ID, I'm pretty sure it repeats. Nope, I guess it's just alma maters. Oh, there it is. Organization team ID. I knew it was going to repeat somewhere. See, I would change it all right there. Be consistent. If it says team ID, you got to change it, otherwise you're going to have glitches. And then you just go through here, change all the team IDs. I think that's the only one that does it, but for coach, because I changed my coach's name, do it again here, change your team ID. Coach, change your ID again. But that's the skills, so if you want to have more skills starting off, that's up to you. I wouldn't change any of those specifically, because you may glitch the game because it's supposed to be in order. Like you have to stop at level 1 before you go up to level 2, level 3, so on and so forth. Upgrades available. So on one of mine, I just started my coach with 5 experience points because I'm a previous coach from another season. I didn't want to start from ground zero again. So I just gave myself 5. So there's where you just associate available points. Skill trees, skill ranks, you don't change that because that's how the game is. If you want to change the verbiage and be funny, go ahead, but it doesn't really do much. Places. This is where you change everything. So for this, I had Mid-Tennessee State. I have no bowls, no neutral site games. They don't host anything, so I'm good on those. However, city and stadiums, I do. So if I go to places, for cities, I was number 4. Ponyville right there, number 4. It's normally Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I changed my city ID to match Ponyville, city name is Ponyville. I kept the state as Tennessee. Okay? But I can make it whatever state I want. Just know if you change it in here, you got to change it everywhere else you see it, okay? As far as here, if it would double click, you only got to select the number of states that it's going to recognize. I don't recommend changing it. I haven't personally messed with it, but I'm sure if you made something else, maybe the system will roll with it. Just make sure you change it everywhere. I don't think the announcer is going to say your made-up name, though. So, yeah. And then you have to go into stadiums. And for this one, I don't know where Mid-Tennessee State is. And they've no idea where they could possibly be. What I do know is when I scroll over, everything has a team name. Sort your team names, scroll down, find your team. Boom. Found them. There it is. Johnny Red Floyd Stadium. And remember, this is what I changed already. So, I'm in stadiums. I found the stadium ID. I want to go back to team data. Boom. Did I change it to anything? I'm going to my team data. Boom. Team coach report right here. Cancelot Stadium. So I should have done it in there to make it consistently, but if you did it like you said, it would be here. You just go ahead and change it. Cancelot Stadium. I would change Johnny Red Floyd Stadium to Cancelot. And then this has to be Cancelot. Obviously, get rid of your parentheses. My city name was now Ponyville. I'm still in Tennessee. Team name, that would be Friendship U. Because I want it to be consistent. And just go through. If you want to change specifics about your stadium, you can. Me personally, it was just more tedious, so I didn't mess with it. And yeah, then you go through awards and records. All-American is specific. Heisman is player-specific as well. School records. You got team records, which means you got to go find your team. Scroll down, find your team, change it. Boom. I'd go in here. Friendship U, and obviously just copy, paste it all the way through. If you want to start as a new team, this is where you do it. So I go down to team, school records, sort it. I scroll down. And then you're going to see I already have mine, but I start off as a new team, so I have nothing. So see, Friendship U, all of my record values are 0 because we're a brand new school. We have never touched the football field because the team is just made up. Like, we finally got funding to make ourselves a football team. So you just go in here, find your team, change all of them to Friendship U, and it doesn't matter what it is, just change it to 0. You're a brand new school. If you would like to change to low numbers, you can do so. Like other YouTubers have done that because they don't want to break a record every single time. It's up to you, honestly. NCAA records are player specific. It does not have to matter. If you want to be more accurate and say like, yeah, my school has never broken that, so then go ahead and just go in here. Say if I took over Wisconsin, I'm just going to go find Wisconsin. I'm just going to change this quarterback record to some other school. Okay? It's that easy. Schedule data, this is where you want to pay a little bit more attention. So sort it by home team, and then go find your school. Boom, found my schools. Doop. So if I'm going in here, schedule data. Oops, right over it. So as you see, I made Friendship U. All I did was change all of these to Friendship U. However, you got to pay attention to Stadium ID too. Your Stadium ID has been updated. So I changed mine from Johnny to Cancelot. I got to change in here as well, okay? Next, you got to do away teams. Because you played home games, you got to play away games too, right? So then you go ahead and change this. Change that. Do not change those stadiums. Those are belonging to the home teams, not you, okay? You go to team schedule. It's already sorted. Go ahead and find your team. Change all of these to your team. League data. That's your conferences. You're good. Conference rival. You got to find your team name. Boom. Found mine. Go ahead and change it. If you want to, you can mess with the rival name, but honestly, like, that's up to you. Me personally, I didn't do it for the simple reason that whenever I look at it, I don't want to risk the chance that, what's it called? Whenever I'm trying to change it, I didn't want to risk any kind of glitches happening whenever I try to play my scheduled games. So there's mine. See, it's still UTEP. I don't want to change UTEP to, say, Vanderbilt or Tennessee because we're inside of Tennessee. I don't want to do that and then turn around and find out that my schedule's all messed up because I'm not playing my rival team. So, again, it's up to you. This is why you save copies and don't mess with it too much. Yeah, you just go in there and make sure nothing else needs to be changed. You have no stats because you have not started the season. Media coverage, if you would like to, you can make your own little storyline that pops up on the right side of your screen whenever you're playing. That's up to you. I always recommend change your team ID because it popped up again. You got to change it, okay? And then just to make sure your details match up, media content says the Blue Raiders. That's what Mid-Tennessee State is. So I'd come in here, miscellaneous. Let me organize it so I can match it, and I'll show you what I changed it. Oops. Okay, Friendship U. So I kept Teldrick Ross. I changed Ferguson over to my star receiver. And then following Teldrick stayed the same, blah, blah, blah. But I changed it to the Ponies are relying, not the Blue Raiders. And then Mid-Tennessee State's up to the task. Nah, Friendship U's up to the task. Unknowns are unknowns and don't bother. Yeah, nobody knows what these are. Hey, look, Coach ID. But honestly, I never even changed this. So all of this will change automatically. Don't bother going through unknowns because it will update. Once you change stuff, it works in your favor. So, what category did I just click on? Okay, one of these had, there it is. Let's see. My name became part of the coaching ID because I changed it everywhere I saw it. So then the system recognized it. Yeah, that's all you do. Hopefully I helped you guys out with any of your errors. But yeah, I just want to help you guys out with any of your errors. My main thing was I would get that error trying to do EADB editor. And at that point, when you see that error, that means your IDs are not going to load the way they should. They're not going to come up with the number and the name, which is how the system identifies who you're playing against, what these guys' names are, and like how everything's supposed to flow. It starts like miscombobulating, which I don't think the coach and player IDs matter nearly as much as your team IDs. The team IDs have to match. If they don't, you're going to get errors, and then whenever you edit your stadiums and so on and so forth, the data's not going to work and you're going to freeze. You're going to get the constant errors, which if you're on PC and you run RPCS3, you always have your text box open, and it shows you all the data that's compiling as good as green. Red means it's bad, it's not functioning or unsuccessful. Pink/purple usually means it's unmapped and it's a system error. It's not computing at all. And usually if you see that, for my circumstances, it generally means my game is officially frozen/crashed. And then whenever I try to exit out, it takes like a 10 to 30 seconds for it to close out. And even when it does, it's going to tell you, hey, we have a system crash. Please report it. Click OK if you understand. And then I click OK, it exits out everything. So I'm just trying to help somebody else out. If this helps you out, just feel free to let me know. Give me a like. Go ahead and comment in the comment section how I helped you out. Because I haven't seen anybody else post videos of how to deal with that. And it took me 5 or 6 months in general just to be able to make a creative team and have it load in the dynasty properly. I couldn't understand what I was doing wrong because I kept getting those errors that nobody ever addressed whenever the error box popped open. And for the first month or so, I literally just had to keep quitting, and I kept trying over and over, and I couldn't figure out what I did wrong. Eventually, I was able to figure that out, which honestly, it's been like 5-6 months since that happened, so I don't even know how to replay that. Hopefully you avoid that initial one, and then you just take the user data, rename it as .mc02, and you should be able to find the EADB editor with no problems. But once you start making those changes, you got to be consistent, otherwise you're going to get that error even if you follow everything else, because if the team ID and player IDs aren't uniform, then you're leaving the chance for things to mess up. So hopefully my video helped you guys out. Feel free to let me know if it did. If I wasn't clear or concise on certain aspects that you're getting confused about, let me know. I'll try to help. I'm not tech savvy or anything. I don't claim to be. I just wanted to offer some wisdom that I learned through my experience of trial and error over the last 3 months. And nothing was more satisfying than being able to figure out what was wrong and how I can avoid this from happening, to where now if I want to make other creative teams, I have that opportunity to. I'm not creative, I'm not color coordinated, so it's not likely that I'm going to do it, but I have the chance and opportunity to if I wanted to, or if I had somebody else, like my wife especially, she's really good at photoshopping, this and that, which I don't have Photoshop, I use GIMP. I don't know if Trigger or somebody else put me onto it, but it's extremely helpful. It's free. It's very simple for me to use, so I use that. I don't have to pay money for Photoshop. But she's really good at those kind of things, so she helped me make my team more presentable and more pristine than what I originally would have made it. So, yeah. Let me know. I don't ask for subscribers because I don't even know how to set it up, honestly. But if you'd like to subscribe, I'll always take it. At the end of the day, I just want to help make everybody else's day better, live long, prosper, all that good stuff. It's not Pookie. See ya.